Hello, everybody, and welcome to the DINA webinar. Elena's got a lot of information packed into this webinar today, so please hold your questions and everything toward the end. And without further ado, please go ahead, Elena.
Thank you, BL. And welcome, everybody. As you know, the focal point of this webinar is building of the ivory tower and looking closer at the Wesak Festival. But before we start, we will have a short alignment. So please withdraw your attention from the lower sense perceptions and achieve stillness in the three lower fields of the personality: physical, emotional, mental. And then raise the consciousness into the head. Carrying the consciousness upward through the astral body and the mind to the soul. Identify the personality consciousness with the soul consciousness and realize that they are one. Assume the attitude of the observer upon the mental plane. And throw the soul energy down into the center at the base of the spine. And then raise the soul energy slowly via the centers in the spine and via the two centers in the head up into the soul body upon the higher mental levels. Recognize the personality is aligned with the soul, forming one unit. And there is a fusion of the individual soul with the group soul on the level of the soul on its own plane. Then link the heart center in the spine with the heart center upon the mental plane, where we find the response to group vibration. And feel the group love uniting all the members of the group into one unit. Thank you, everybody. We start with reading the passage from the January 1935 instruction related to the May full moon in 1936, where DK is telling her the following. The fight is not yet over, but by May 1936 you should have reached a point where the sense of inner freedom will be so strong that you will realize that the things which affect the personality and which come from the point of development and from the lack of control of the personalities with which you are associated will fail to exert any real power over you. You will be fast attaining the attitude of the observer, of the one who looks on, knowing yourself to be the controlling soul. Now, DK was preparing her for spiritual opportunity here, which would be created through the period of the year from 1935 May full moon to May full moon in 1936, where a great forward-moving effort of the world soul would take place, and a definite and unchangeable progress would be made, and where the soul is gathering itself for a fresh effort, for a stronger and more determined preoccupation with the affairs of the personality. So she would be subjected to these stimulating energies, which would enable her to achieve a greater freedom, not only from her own personality and from the personalities of others, particularly from the emotional desire nature, but also to free her own soul for greater expression and control, and closer relation between her soul and personality would be established. Her soul contact would be strengthened, and the soul would be able not only to take a firmer control of the personality, but also to manifest with greater freedom in the outer and inner worlds. Now, the rhythm set by the new group of world service is a 3-year cycle. And the end of one such cycle came in May 1936. This 3-year cycle is conditioned or based on the Wesak. It means from Wesak 1933 to Wesak 1936. Now, this brings focus on the sign Taurus, which is ruling the Wesak and the new group of world service, and its ruler Vulcan and the first ray energy. Now, each year of this 3-year cycle is conditioned by one of the 3 rays of aspect. The first year by ray 3, the second year by ray 2, and the third year by ray 1. Thus the 1935 Wesak represented climaxing of the second year cycle, which started in Wesak 1934. And at the same time, also initiating the third year cycle, which would reach its climaxing peak at the Wesak 1936. Now, would you put on the screen instruction number 2, BL?
There you go.
Thank you. Now we will consider the following D-case statement. Build it, it means the tower, until the time of the full moon in May, and then at the same time of the Wesak Festival, and for 3 days of that festival, live in your tower and there abide. Now you see, it appears that the Wesak Festival in the past used to be only on the day of the full moon of May. But we are told that in 1936 and 1937, the period of the Wesak Festival on the inner plains was extended to 5 days. 2 days preceding the day of the festival itself, and 2 days succeeding the festival. This is bringing focus to the exact hour of the Wesak, or the day of the full moon, which, as we all know, is of great importance. Okay? So the Wesak cycles are counted from that exact hour of the May full moon through the 3-year cycles related to the new group of world service. That's why he is bringing the year 1936 Wesak as of importance in front of her. Okay? Now, in order to build the tower, the ivory tower, she needed, you see, to utilize both the first and second ray energies, and that was the reason he asked her to build the tower until the time of the Wesak 1935. Because the Wesak 1935 represents the intermediary point between the second and third year cycles, combining both the first and second ray energies. So it is the climaxing cycle of the second ray and initiating cycle of the first ray. And she had to utilize both of these first and second ray energies in building of the tower. Now, could you please, BL, put up the natal chart? Thank you. Now, the ivory tower she was to build is astrologically represented by the MC-IC axis. Virgo Pisces, right? Where the MC represents the summit of the tower on the abstract or highest level of the mental plane, the atomic subplane. And the IC represent the foundation of the tower on the third level or third subplane of the higher mental plane. Okay? So astrologically, we would be considering this polarity of Virgo Pisces energies across the IC-MC axis. This would be our primarily focus of this webinar. Obviously, considering the necessary and important other energies in relation to this axis. Okay? We see that in her chart, the MC is ruled by the Cancer decade of Pisces, okay, which is the middle decade. And the planets Moon, Neptune, Jupiter, and Pluto as a ruling planets of the Cancer Pisces energies. The IC is ruled by Capricorn, decade of Virgo, and planets Mercury, Neptune, and Saturn, primarily. We see that Neptune is functioning on both levels, MC and IC, being the ruler of Pisces, of the Cancer decade as an esoteric ruler, and as an esoteric ruler of Virgo. Okay? And Neptune is her most important planet because it's the esoteric ruler of a Cancer ascendant. Okay? Now what we will do, we will look at the exact hour of the Wesak 1935. So BL, if you can bring up the quadra wheel. And bring the date on 18th of May 1935, which was the day of the Wesak full moon in May, and the hour it's 3:58:21 a.m. 3:58:21 a.m.
There you go.
Now, you can see the full moon occurring at 26 Taurus 32 across the Taurus-Scorpio polarity, right? And it is occurring in Capricorn, Cancer decades of the Taurus-Scorpio polarity. Okay? Reflecting the Capricorn Cancer decades of the Virgo Pisces decades on the natal IC-MC axis. Now this is a significant alignment of the Wesak full moon to the IC-MC axis here, okay? The full moon also activates the solar arc nodal axis. You see them there at 26 Taurus, Scorpio, 03. Okay? From Taurus to Scorpio. And these nodal axes are bringing with them a solar arc midpoint of Moon Uranus, which falls at 26 Scorpio 14, very close to the full moon and a nodal axis, the solar arc nodal axis, and creates a strong point of tension on the mental plane from where she was able to work and create the bridge to her soul and stabilize herself in the light. Now the full moon, 26 Scorpio 32, by trine aspect, activates the solar arc Mars, ruler of Scorpio, in 26 Cancer 35, and the progressed Venus, ruler of Taurus, in 26 Cancer 55. We can say they are making a conjunction from these two different levels of progression. Okay? We note that this Venus-Mars conjunction is in Pisces decanate of Cancer. And we have another relationship to the Cancer Pisces MC. Okay? In her natal axis now. Okay? Now the Wesak in 26 Scorpio 32 is also forming a square with the midpoint of Jupiter-Pluto, which falls in 26 Leo 40 in the third house there, I think, right? And Jupiter-Pluto are the rulers of the natal MC represented by Pisces, where Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces and Pluto esoteric ruler of Pisces. Another alignment. Now, this Jupiter-Pluto midpoint is strengthened by the transiting Pluto in Pisces decanate of Cancer at 24:10. You see there? And in trine aspect to the progressed Jupiter, in Cancer decanate of Scorpio, 24:29 in the 5th house. Now all these energies again are related to the conditioning energies of her midheaven in Cancer decanate of Pisces. Okay? This combination of energies reflected the energies of both axes, representing the tower and thus creating a strong spiritual power here, which she was able to utilize in creation of the tower with a very positive results, coming primarily here from the Jupiter-Pluto combination. At the time of the full moon, you see the transiting MC was in 26 Capricorn. You see there, 55, right? In a Virgo decanate of Capricorn, reflecting the IC Virgo Capricorn decanate. Natally, IC. Okay? And this transiting midheaven, 26 Capricorn 55, is in exact opposition to progressed Venus, which we just looked at, 26 Cancer 55.
Elena, I show the midheaven is at 22. Capricorn 54, not at 26. So the
Well,
timing is off a little bit or something. Not
yes,
much.
well,
It's not off by much, but I used the
okay,
35821.
okay. Well, according to my program here, that MC is at exactly 26 Capricorn 55. It's not important, you know, but there is exact opposition to the progressed Venus, okay, and to the solar arc mass in 26 Cancer, to the same conjunction which we considered before, okay. And this is all linking the natal Virgo Capricorn IC with the Pisces Cancer MC with the Venus Mars Pisces Cancer placement. Okay? Another alignment. Now this is an amazing combination of energies between the Wesak exact hour in 1935 with her natal MCIC axis representing the tower. Okay? Now, what is of the greatest importance that the Wesak full moon is falling on the solar arc nodal axis, which we looked at, okay? Because the nodal axes are very important, particularly in this process here. So what I said to myself, we will look at the nodal axis from the very beginning of this instruction in January 1935. And so would you put the wheel for the 5 January 1935? Okay. You can leave the time there. It's not
Right.
particularly relevant so far. So we have here represented an activation of nodal axes from different levels, okay, and this indicates a very important development during the coming year of 1935. With a focal point on the MCIC axis, where the North Node is related to the MC, which becomes a primary point of direction and focus of consciousness. Okay? So, the progressed retrograde Mercury in 28 Gemini 57 in the 12th house, making an exact T-square with the natal nodal axis Virgo Pisces. You see, at 28:57. And Mercury, as a ruler of Aries, you see, strong esoteric placement which she was born with. You see that Mercury in Aries in the 10th house? Thank you. It represents the summit of the tower on the abstract level of the mental plane. Okay? Because Aries condition the 3 highest levels of the mental plane. Okay? And is ruled by Mercury, beside other planets, which we look at later. Now the transiting Pluto, ruler of the natal MC, in 25 Cancer, which is the decade of the Pisces MC activates the progressed nodal axis from 25 Virgo Pisces. You are in the wrong place. Pisces Virgo. There. You see it?
Give me a minute. There. No, that's
Thank
not
you.
progressed. Here. Got
Thank
it.
you. Okay. Which reflect again the natal MCIC axis and provides, the Pluto provides the first ray energy utilized in the building of the tower as an esoteric ruler of the Pisces midheaven, and also of the Pisces nodal axis. Okay? Now look at the progress Chiron at 28 Capricorn, decade of Taurus. Progressed Chiron.
Okay. Do I not have Chiron on here?
Well, you should have.
Okay, let me fix it.
Here, you have it there. You see it progressed in.
Not in Capricorn, it's not. Here it's over here. That's not progressed. Oh, Aries. It's in Aries.
Yes.
Do I have something
And
wrong?
it is at what degree do you have it? At 28, right?
Yes.
Okay. It activates the natal nodal axis at 28 Virgo Pisces. Okay?
Right.
And these natal axes carry the midpoint Moon Uranus and Jupiter Chiron. These are important midpoints because a Moon Uranus reflects her natal Moon square Uranus. Thank you. And Jupiter Chiron, you see, it's adding strength to the Chiron relationship to the nodes. And again, the Jupiter Moon, you see, are related as rulers to the Virgo Pisces MCIC, and Uranus provides the energy of freedom. Okay? Now, this combination indicates adjustment and change in the relation between the soul and personality, where the directing and controlling agent is the soul energy, represented here by the Chiron. And Moon, veiling Neptune, and Jupiter as rulers of the MCIC axis, providing the second-ray energies, and Uranus brings the freedom, detachment, and a first-ray energy. Okay? And we note that it was also the Wesak full moon which activated the solar arc nodal axis with its solar arc moon Uranus midpoint also. Okay? And now the progressed Chiron is activating also the nodal axis natally with the natal moon Uranus midpoint. So, you know, these are rather detailed alignment, but extremely important. And this brings to our attention not only the importance of Chiron, in relation to the nodes, nodal axis, but also the Moon-Uranus midpoint, which, as I said, reflects the Uranus square Moon in Pisces decade of Scorpio, which provides the energy of detachment. Her biggest problem in that incarnation to achieve detachment or dispassion. And Moon, as the only planet, makes the trine to the Pisces midheaven. Now the solar arc nodal axis at 25 Taurus Scorpio, you see, emphasize through the North Node in Taurus, the Wesak, May 1935. Okay? In Taurus.
Do you want me to go back to that exact, to 18 May?
No.
Okay.
No. We are looking purely here how many activation from different levels of the nodal axis is appearing here. You see? Now, if we look at the solar arc Neptune, at 29 Gemini in 12th house.
Gemini 12th. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. It is making a T-square also with a natal nodal axis Virgo Pisces, right? At 28 degree or nearly 29 degree. Okay? And activates the same two midpoints, Moon Uranus and Jupiter Chiron. And this combination would provide a creative imagination, which he was also utilizing in the process, not only building of her garden before, but now also in building of her tower in that garden. Now the transiting Uranus in Aries, there, which is the planet of change and freedom, through Aries, initiating cycle and conditioning energy of the higher mental plane, Aries, right, activates the nodal axis of Virgo Pisces and in March enters Taurus. Okay? So we have looked at this January, very early January, where the instruction was given, just to see how many different levels of the nodal axis were activated here. And that indicates their importance and why the full moon in the Wesak Taurus 1935 fell across the solar arc axis, nodal axis. Okay? Which obviously we don't want to go back, you're going to change that to that, but we have already seen it. Okay? Now, the keynote of the second year cycle is conditioned by the second ray. Okay? And the keynote is expansion for that cycle, where clarity and quality of the note to be sounded by the manifesting form should appear and should be heard. Now, the manifesting form for her is the ivory tower, the inner structure on the inner planes, which will qualify her life in the three worlds. And the quality of the note to be sounded by this inner structure of energies on the higher mental plane is pure love. One of her keywords in her development formula by the letter P, C.D.P. P is pure love. Okay? Now, in her case, the note was to be sounded or voiced with the mind held steadily in the light of the soul, without interference from the emotional or astral body or the kama manasic mind. And to stabilize herself in the consciousness of the soul, whose nature is spiritual detachment and isolation. And isolation from the spiritual perspective is the symbol also of the tower, of one of its symbols. Okay? We also note that she had only about 4 months to build the tower, from January to May, Wesak. Okay? Now, from the perspective of the importance of the exact hour of the full moon, the 3 days which she had to spend in that tower during the Wesak would be the day prior to that Wesak full moon, the day of exact full moon, and the day after the full moon. Okay? So the day prior to the time of the full moon, Wesak, represents the renunciation and detachment from the demands of the personality, which was very difficult for her to achieve. Okay? And she could easily slip into the glamour. And this is seen by the transiting Neptune through the IC axis there, okay, making sex, where are you now? Could you bring your wheel more to the,
you want it back in May?
Yes, please. Thank you. May 18. Yes, leave it where was the full moon. Okay? Because you see, that transiting Neptune is very important that it's moving by retrograde motion into the 3rd house. Okay? Because you see, it is making sextile to the solar arc Mars. Is it sextile? Am I saying it right?
No, it's not sextile to it. It's solar arc Mars is at 26.
It's semi-square, I think.
Semi-square, yeah.
Yes, sorry. And you see, we have a combination here, Neptune Mars with a powerful 6-ray. Okay? So there was a tendency to glamour with that aspect, you see, which she, would have to control to stay in that higher level of that tower. She had to assume an attitude of receptivity, you see, to that which her soul could impart to her during these 3 days, and particularly during the exact hour of the Wesak. Okay? Now, this is provided by the transiting Neptune in its strong esoteric placement in Virgo, forming an aspect to the progressed Venus in Cancer where Neptune is the esoteric ruler. So you see that Mars-Neptune alignment, powerfully conditioning from different perspectives, represents the personality soul. Mars personality and Venus the soul. And with that Neptune contacting this combination, you see, from the personality level, there is that glamour possibility, but the Neptune, you see, it's more powerful over that due to the ruler Neptune of that Cancer energies as an esoteric ruler. And being in a strong esoteric placement in Virgo, where is also esoteric ruler, moon veiling Neptune. Okay? Now, we are still looking at the day prior to the exact full moon, okay? It would be good, you see, if you bring 17 May.
Okay.
Okay? Because we are considering actually the day prior to the, that's why I was a little bit confused here.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
There you go.
My mistake. I should have told you. Okay. Could you find the transiting Moon-Jupiter conjunction in 17-degree Pisces decade of Scorpio? There you are.
Yeah, the timing is off a little bit, but not by much.
Yes, yes, okay. Because it is squaring the progressed Uranus, you see this conjunction, at 16 Leo, 42 day, okay? That's why the importance of this combination of energies, you see, Moon, Jupiter, Uranus, okay, is another strong combination of energies where the Jupiter-Neptune particularly provide a great sensitivity to higher impression and adding to the creative imagination there. And Uranus, you see, is the energy which activates this. We have a combination of first and secondary energies in this combination, okay, working together. So this conjunction or alignment between the solar arc Mars and progressed Venus indicate a process of soul personality fusion. Through building of this tower, it's going simultaneously, okay? Where the soul is gaining control under the strong influence of the Wesak energy, where Venus and Neptune are strong spiritual conditioning energies. Okay? I adding Neptune because it's the esoteric ruler of that Cancer. Okay? Now, you bring now the wheel to the 18th, the day of the full moon. Okay? You actually have it at the same time, which is good, of the full moon, right?
Okay, there you go.
On the day 18. Okay.
Right.
And this is the day which all of us who meditate also on the full moons, it's the day of exact full moon represent the safeguarding, right? This is a point to safeguard the inner silence, okay? Where she had to hold herself steadily in the light. or standing in spiritual being, seeking to assume that attitude of receptivity to that which the soul was to impart to her during this exact hour, and guarding this space, this inner space, from all outside interference, particularly from the personality, to be used for the development of detachment and freedom from the personality, and also for the building of the tower. And we have already looked on the astrology of this exact full moon in more detail, right? Now, you bring it to the day after the full moon, which is the 19th. And we know that this is the day of distribution, okay? When she would endeavor to pass through her personality that measure of spiritual energy, what she was able to contact at the exact hour of the Wesak full moon, okay? Now, on this 19th of May, which we are considering the day after the full moon, you see the transiting Mercury in 18-degree Gemini in 12th house, okay? It's going over the progressed Sun in 18-degree Gemini, right? It's a direct alignment there. And moving through the 12th house, which is a Piscean house of subjectivity and of the soul on its own plane. This is the area, powerful Gemini there, okay? And this transiting Mercury together with that progress Sun, making sextile to the progressed ascendant in 18-degree Leo. Thank you. In the 3rd house of meditation, together with the transiting Neptune and the solar arc ascendant, we have a gathering in the 3rd house, which is a meditative axis with the 9th house, lower and higher mind, and reflecting the powerful Gemini concentration, natal progressed solar arc transit of the 12th house. Okay? You see that powerful Gemini force there. Reflecting the 3rd house, which is the Gemini house, and it's ruled by the Sun. Leo rules 3rd house, right? So we see the powerful alignment, okay? And Gemini is ruled by Mercury. This had to be very carefully followed because there is another powerful alignment in relation now to the meditation she was going through the process, okay? Because Mercury rules meditation, it rules the Antakarana, and is the esoteric ruler of Aries, and which is the conditioning energy of the 3 higher levels of the mental plane, where she was building the tower. And it is also one of the rulers of the abstract mind. Okay? Now, one more thing on this day, the transiting mutable T-square between Chiron in Gemini, Moon in Sagittarius. You see the 9 degree, follow the 9 degree. And the natal Mercury 8 Aries 45. The solar arc moon 9 degree Capricorn.
Okay, well, were you going to talk about the T-square, which was...
Well,
I'm
I
sorry.
forgot to tell you Saturn.
Right.
Saturn, okay? This is the T-square in a mutable cross, okay? I was now starting to add the solar arc moon, 9 degree Capricorn, okay? With the natal Mercury in nearly 9 Aries, 845, okay? Now, this combination is the distributing channel for the energies contacted during the exact hour of the Wesak. Okay? You see, this is a rather exact, detailed analysis of these energies, and I am not, taking any further which could be added, but just selecting the most visible, visually, like seeing the 9 degrees alignment of the mutable cross. You see, again, between the energies which are directly related, to the ICMC axis. Now, we will look now at 3 aspects which operated through all the 3 days. Okay? And that first one would be the solar arc Pluto at 19 Cancer, there, in aspect to the natal Saturn in 4 Pisces in the 9th house. Okay? Of the abstract mind. Okay? The Saturn in the 9 was operating through all 3 days, this aspect between the Pluto and Saturn, right? And this combination was providing the first ray energy of detachment and of withdrawal to enable her to stabilize the consciousness in the head on the first or abstract level of the mental plane, with the ability to use her abstract mind, which is also ruled by Saturn. Okay? Mercury, Saturn, Uranus are usually related to the abstract mind. Okay? Now, the second aspect which was operating through all the 3 days is the transiting Neptune close to the IC, okay, which was for very good reason during this process retrograding into the 3rd house of meditation, okay, in 11 Virgo, there, 48, okay, powerful esoteric placement, forming a sextile. Again, I'm saying sextile. I made a mistake, maybe semi-square to the progressed Venus, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now this aspect and aspect to the solar arc Mars also in Pisces, decade of Cancer. And this aspect, you see, provided sensitivity to the higher impressions through all the 3 days. Okay? Particularly the one with the Neptune-Venus alignment or aspect there. Because you see, these aspects were more or less the same degrees during the 3 days, because the Neptune by transit is moving very slowly, and so is are the Mars and Venus by progressions there. Okay? Now, And the third aspect, which was in operation through the 3 days, is the transiting Pluto in Pisces decade of Cancer, making a trine to the progressed retrograde Jupiter in Pisces decade of Scorpio in the 5th house, okay? And we see that this was enabling her to work with the first and second ray energies together through the 3 days. Okay? And because she had to spend these 3 days in a meditative state of inner silence, okay? And these 3 days I am seeing as analogy for the 3-year Wesak cycle, and the analogy also to the threefold personality, okay? This could be further enlarged, but you know, we don't have time for that. Just hoping to finish what I want to say now. Now we will consider the 3rd-year cycle of the 3-year Wesak cycle, okay, in relation to the new group of world service. It means the Wesak, the cycle, the 3rd-year cycle from Wesak 1935 to Wesak 1936, because this 3rd cycle or year is conditioned by the first ray energies, okay, and represent emergence, enlivenment, and impact, okay, of something which has been created by the 3-year cycle, because the 3rd-year Wesak is the climaxing Wesak. And that's why DK Relation was mentioning it to her and bringing us a hint behind what he was saying. Okay? And for C.D.P, it was the emergence into outer expression of the work she has done on the subjective and objective levels, where the life of the soul behind the personality started to express itself with greater freedom for all to see and make a definite impact on her consciousness by sounding the clear note of freedom, or as DK is telling her, that by the Wesak 1936 she would have reached a strong sense of inner freedom. Okay? Now, freedom is conditioned by Uranus and the first ray primarily. We see the transiting Uranus through the 11th house, right? You have it in which sign there? Already in Taurus, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you know the 11th house represents the groups, and in this particular instance, it is the new group of world service which we are focusing on. And if you can bring the wheel to the 28th March 1935, and the hour 2:26:10 a.m. 2:26:10 a.m. Why I am bringing this hour? Because if we look at the transit in Uranus now, we see an exact entry into Taurus, right? 00 Taurus. Okay. Now, Uranus is the esoteric ruler of the Libra 5th house. Okay. Where we already were looking at that Jupiter number of times. Okay. And even at this point, the transiting Jupiter is going through it. And there are also the solar arc node axis in it. Okay. And the natal moon is in it. Okay. So it's a very important area. In this, from this perspective, with the Uranian energy, you see, the 5th house indicates a greater freedom of the creative expression of the soul process here. Okay. And the Uranus, you know, represents that freedom. Okay. Now, on the same day, I mean, you know, where we are now, there is an alignment between the transiting Mercury at 12 Pisces, transiting Neptune 12 Virgo, transiting Moon 12 Capricorn, natal Moon 12 Scorpio, and the solar arc Uranus 12 Libra. Thank you. Now you see this powerful alignment of energies. At the same time, the Uranus was entering Taurus, signifying the Wesak cycle here with that Taurian energy. Okay? And the alignment of Mercury, Neptune, Moon, and Uranus. Again, all the energies related to the ICMC axis, with the Uranus providing the principle of freedom, change, and release. Okay? Now, the transiting Saturn in 4 Pisces is making a first contact as a second Saturn return to the natal 4-degree Pisces. This is a very important happening together with building of the tower. Okay? Second Saturn return. And what is significant in here, that it is happening more or less exact with the entry of that Uranus into Taurus. That's why I brought it exactly that time of the entry of that Uranus, because it is coinciding with number of very important alignments in the chart. Okay? Now, the transiting Jupiter in 22 Scorpio thank you, is in opposition the natal Pluto at 22 Taurus. Thank you. And you remember we already mentioned this Pluto-Jupiter combination, okay? It has a very great importance behind the successes she has made through these 2 Wesak cycles of second and first ray. And you see this opposition is happening across the 5-11 houses, right? Where we find the solar arc nodal axis, okay? And it is related to the creativity and the group work now, okay? These axes, 511. The transiting Pluto through Cancer is in trine aspect to the progressed Jupiter in the 5th house. You see the 24 degree, 24 degree. Trine. Another Jupiter-Pluto alignment. The rulers of the MCIC axis, okay? And the Jupiter, I don't know, maybe I mentioned before, is in a Cancer decade of Scorpio. Okay? And we have discussed this movement of the Jupiter, you know, from the 6th house to the 5th house, if you remember how important, you know, for that Jupiter to enter this 5th house. We see another very deeper meaning now. Why the Jupiter had to retrograde into the 5th house instead of going through the 6th house. Okay? Now, we see how the first ray, Pluto, and second ray, Jupiter, are working together. You know, through all this process. And Jupiter-Pluto combination represents, you know, a successful outcome of whatever activity is happening. And is behind, you see, DK's words when he was telling her that he has looked on for years at her struggle, felt certain of her victory. You see, this is the Jupiter-Pluto, a major in relation with the Uranian energy, which is behind his words, that he felt certain of her victory. Now the word victory is a keyword of Scorpio. Scorpio test. Okay? Is the test of her moon also in Scorpio. In there. Representing mastering of a final test of fitness for accepted discipleship also, and enabling her to become an accepted disciple towards which the energies of the inner structure of the tower contributed also. Okay? You remember the webinar where we were discussing this final test, where he was preparing her for the crisis in front of her. Okay? And so this inner structure which she built upon the higher mental plane, together with the Saturn second return, and the eclipse on the progressed Mars, you see, which we were considering already. You see that in the first house, progressed Mars in Cancer. Okay? Is it still in 8 degrees, squaring the natal Mercury in Aries? Okay? Which was part of this test of fitness for accepted discipleship. Okay? And now it's the victory here. Okay? All this process is working together, you see. Simultaneously, a number of things are contributing to her actually achieving that success. Okay? And you see these planets especially, in relation to the second and third year of the Wesak cycle, also are contributory factor here. Okay? Under the first and second ray energies, there is a lot of building processes here happening of the bridge, Antakarana, of the structure, focalizing her consciousness upon the higher mental planes, stabilizing of the soul contact, all this astrologically, is contributing to this process. Okay? And we have also seen this beneficial Jupiter-Pluto was present also at the exact time of the Wesak. Okay? Now the ivory tower also represents the first ray energy. I think I mentioned that. Which had to emerge into an outer expression as a result of the subjective work of the soul on its own plane. But you see, I think she had to utilize the second ray energy of love first in the creative process of not only building of the tower, but building of her garden too. And it is available to her at the climaxing cycle of the second ray at the Wesak 1935. You see, the love of the heart must be developed and manifest first, before the will and power of the head can be used wisely. But eventually, the heart and head have to work together, as they are working in this building process here. Okay? Now, if we look at the symbology of the tower, tower is a symbol of seclusion, confinement, solitude, prison, isolation. But for C.D.P., it represented primarily the solitude of the soul, whose nature is spiritual detachment and isolation. Spiritual isolation. So the voice of the soul was heard in the silence of that solitude. Okay? Now we know ivory comes from elephant, right? And both ivory and elephant represents a strength. In C.D.P., it could be the strength to be detached, strength to love others as souls. And we are told that the symbol of the elephant is the base chakra, which is a symbol of strength, concentrated power, a great moving force, which once it's, aroused, it carries all the fires up the spine to the head, right? Like when we aggravate the elephant, we should run for our life because it's going to destroy us. It's a life-death situation, like with the premature rising of that fire. Okay? Now we are told that for our fifth root race, it is the symbol of the most powerful of the animal kingdom, which elephant is, right? And the animal kingdom is ruled by moon mass, rulers of the animal form or personality, which is destroyed at the third initiation. And that initiation is also ruled by moon mass, but on a higher spiritual level of the energetic planets now. Sixth ray of devotion represents the domestic animals, right? And the brain of the animals is in region of the solar plexus. And so these energies of the sixth ray and solar plexus are strongly emphasized in C.D.P. Okay? So what we see here is a picture of the transmutation or sublimation of the animal nature or personality for at the base chakra is the elephant force, and in the head we are told is the 1,000-petal lotus hiding Vishnu, seated in the center of that lotus. Thus is the animal nature carried upward into the heaven. So the third aspect, represented by the elephant force, the Holy Ghost or Brahma, is aroused and joined to the second or consciousness aspect or soul energy, that of Vishnu or the Christ force. Okay? Again, we see the first and second ray energies here. We are told that this produces the perfect advancement or union between soul and body. Okay, this process, once achieved. Now, the elephant is said to stand at the head of the second ray type of animal. But elephants are upon the first ray. Why? It is said as a factor of which determines individualization. So again, in the symbology of the tower to the elephant and ivory, we have two rays, second and first ray. And if we align the third aspect of the elephant force to the first ray, and second aspect to the Christ force, that brings the elephant under the primary second ray influence with the first sub-ray influence. Okay? Again, we see the first and second ray energies utilized at the creating of the ivory tower. This we can extract from the symbology behind the ivory tower. Okay? Now, C.D.P. was utilizing the soul aspect of the vegetable kingdom. The love and heart had to be utilized. Okay? In the building of the garden. And then the first aspect had to be added with the will and head through the building of the ivory tower. And at the end, working together. It is interesting that the ajna, which he used for creating her garden, and thus developing the ajna through the creative imagination in building of her garden, and is ruled in her case by the sixth ray, which is linking her also to the animal kingdom through the sixth ray of devotion in relation to the domestic animals, okay, which are in a process going towards the individualization, okay. Now, BL, would you like to bring the number 3 instruction? Thank you. We're going to look at this comment by DK. Build in your garden an ivory tower, and from the summit of that tower, survey your life each day. Now, you know the summit is related to the MC, as we already were looking at that. Life, you know, to actually survey your life each day. You know, he is not asking for little thing, enormous thing. Just imagine, she had to go to that tower, higher level of that mental plane every day. And you know, everyday routine is related to Virgo and the 6th house, okay, which in her case is ruled by Scorpio. So even in this sentence, we have a relationship to the energies which we have already considered. Now, could you bring the natal chart, please? Thank you. Now, in order to look deeper behind this statement, the first important point we need to consider is the planet Mercury. As we know, she has been born with strong esoteric placement of Mercury in Aries, in the 10th house, which is the Capricorn house. And these placements together represent the higher levels of the mental plane where she was building not only her garden, but in that garden she was asked to build now the ivory tower, reaching the summit of the higher mental levels represented by the atomic or first mental subplane, where we find the mental permanent atom representing the abstract mind, and where we also find the head center, by the way. Okay? Now, could you bring up the quadra-wheel, please? Thank you. And could you bring it to the 8th February 1935?
Time okay?
Time okay so far. Thank you. Now, we see the transiting Mercury. You see the transiting Mercury going through the 9th house, okay, of the abstract mind. And this transiting Mercury has turned retrograde on this 8th of February. Because if you bring, just that people see, the day before, no, just move it day before. Never mind. You could have just moved it.
Yeah.
Okay. Change the months to the day, please. Thank you. And just click it a prior day. There.
6 February?
Well, according to my chart,
it's direct now.
Could you bring it the day that she was direct prior to the 8th, which should be the 7th? And now put it to the 8th. You see what I'm trying for people to see? That the transiting Mercury has changed on February 8th from the direct to the retrograde motion. And this is the significant point here, you see, because on this day, this Mercury has made a very important aspects, forming sextile to the progressing moon in 3 Capricorn 47 in a 6th house. There. the esoteric ruler of the Virgo IC, representing, I'm talking about the moon now, is the esoteric ruler of Virgo IC, veiling Neptune. Okay? Ruling the base or foundation of the tower. And it's also the ruler of Cancer Decanate of the Pisces MC Summit. I am bringing this relationship here with that progressed moon. Okay? Both transiting Mercury and progressing moon are in close aspect to the natal ascendant at 4 degree Cancer. Okay? It means the sole purpose is we evidence that the ascendant is always related either directly or through its rulers, Moon and Neptune. Okay? Because this is a very important part of her sole purpose, creating this tower and the garden. Okay? Where Moon is the ruler, right? That's why I'm bringing this attention also to the ascendant here. Now, this transiting Mercury is activating by sesquiquadrate an important midpoint Pluto MC in 18 Libra 04. Okay? We don't see it here because it's a midpoint which need to be calculated and establish where that degree goes. But you see the Pluto MC midpoint is extremely related together with that Mercury. Okay? Because Pluto is the esoteric ruler of the Pisces midheaven. Okay? This brings in the building process of the tower, the first ray of Pluto. Okay? In relation to the summit, to the head center, on the first mental subplane, where we also find the abstract mind ruled by Mercury, which is transiting through the 9th house, representing the abstract mind. You see this relationship again. Now we note that this Mercury-Pluto contact, which linking both planets to the midheaven, reflects the natal semi-square between Mercury, natal Mercury and Pluto aspect, right? And this is the only aspect Mercury makes. Okay? We should always carefully consider any isolated aspects of planets in the natal chart, because they represent a deeper meaning which is not immediately obvious and should be carefully considered. Okay? And this is the case. Now, on 2nd March 1935, the retrograde Mercury turned direct at 18 degree Aquarius 51. Is it there? Well, you don't have exactly the same, but it doesn't matter. It's 18 degree, right?
Yes.
Aquarius there. And makes now a trine aspect to the same midpoint Pluto MC at 18 degree Libra. Now, isn't this amazing? She making the same aspect when she was retrograding, and now the same aspect from completely different degree to the same Pluto MC midpoint. another Mercury-Pluto MC relationship. So we have here an example how even a transiting Mercury in its retrograde and direct motion becomes the most significant energetic contribution to this process. Okay? Adding to all what we have already said that Mercury represent on the higher mental planes. Okay? I actually found it amazing, you know, that we see that the transiting Mercury in both days of her retrograde and direct motion is still moving through the 9th house. Okay? Which is also, you know, amazing because it is emphasizing the same energies even from a direct motion of its movement. Okay? And in its direct motion in the 18 Aquarius is also making aspect by sesquiquadrate to the solar arc Pluto. Would you believe it? In 19 Cancer. Thus emphasizing further the Mercury-Pluto relationship through that Pluto MC Mercury combination. Okay? And the Mercury-Pluto natal aspect. Okay? And further, on the same day, 2nd of March, the transiting Mercury in direct motion is forming opposition to the progressed ascendant in 18-degree Leo. Another contact with the soul purpose in its progressing motion, it's become obvious here. Okay? And making sesquiquadrate to the natal ascendant at the 4 Cancer. Okay? Now this is indicating that the development and utilization of the abstract mind was an important part of her soul purpose. Okay? She had to build that antakarana there. Okay? And staying in the solitude of the soul at the summit of the tower, with persisting strength and continuity of effort, which are first-ray attributes, she would focus and stabilize her restless and shifting mind upon the mental plane and bring it in direct alignment with the abstract mind through the utilization of the light of the soul in the meditation, Mercury, and building of the antakarana, Mercury. And we know that Mercury is also exoteric ruler of the Virgo IC, okay? And so it is also, the concrete mind is also important building energy here of the tower. Working, though under influence of the soul. Okay? Still on the same day, on the 2nd of March, when she turned direct, that Mercury, the transiting Saturn in 2-degree Pisces, in the 9th house, you see the 3 Saturns transiting, progressed, natal. With that Mercury in that 9th house of abstract level of mind, and both Mercury and Saturn are rulers of that abstract mind. Okay? Amazing. At least I think so. Now, Saturn, what I was saying, making sextile aspect to the natal Neptune in 2 degree Taurus. Okay? This is a very important aspect. Saturn, Neptune. Both rulers, I see them there. We come in continuously back. Okay? Because Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, decanae of Virgo, where Neptune is the esoteric ruler. That's the sextile aspect between Saturn and Neptune, bringing together all the angles of the chart. Cancer ascendant, Capricorn descendant. Virgo I see, Capricorn decanae of Pisces MC. You see, the whole axis, 4 axes of the chart, actually the Saturn-Neptune is bringing together. A very important aspect, considering she had it also natally by sextile. Neptune sextile from Taurus to Pisces, natally. You see that? Saturn, Neptune sextile. Thank you. Now, the progressing moon in 4 Capricorn 31 in 7th house, now it's in almost exact alignment with that ascendant, natal ascendant, descendant axis, right? And making an exact sextile to the natal Saturn in 4 Pisces 31. Exact, to the minute. Well, I have it, you don't, but it doesn't matter. It's just 1 minute. And this relation between Cancer Capricorn again reflects all the axes. Okay? And bringing importance also its utilization from the personality and soul perspective or levels. Okay? In relation to the tower. Now, I hope you are still with me up to this point, because we're coming to the last instruction, extracts, BL, number 4, which we're going to only look from more, few words, what actually he is telling her, finalizing, the instruction here, DK. When he said to her, in moments also of distress or of imminent failure, mount your tower and pass into the clear light of day. Now in Scorpio meet 3 lights: light of form, light of soul, and light of life. Okay? So the clear light of day, primarily for C.D.P, was the light of the soul. Okay? There is often a mist in your garden. Now, mist is astral energy, okay? Glamour and lack of clarity, okay? That's why, it was even mentioned in the aspect Mars-Neptune 6th ray, glamour possibility, okay? And she had to raise from that mist in her garden and go into the light on the summit of the tower, okay? But on top of the tower, as he's saying here, the highest level of the mental plane, there is sunlight, which represents the light of the soul. Space. Now, my understanding of the space is that it represents the radius of soul consciousness. For her represented particularly by Jupiter, which rules space, and it is her second-ray soul planet. Okay? And we are told that the soul ray conditioned disciple in space, and the personality ray determines him in time. Okay? And air, this could represent here the higher mental planes where she was building her tower. Okay? Now there comes the statement, there I can meet with you. It means where he can meet with her. In my understanding, this indicates a contact with the master on the first mental subplane, the summit of the tower, of the abstract mind, and of spiritual telepathy. She has to have the antakarana in place in order for the master to reach her concrete mind with his abstract mind, because he never used concrete mind himself, right? Now, if you rightly build, you see, there have to be right techniques here of building. And my perception is that this could be the utilization of the first and second ray energies in the building process, and also building of the antakarana, which goes simultaneously together. Okay? And learn the method of ascent. It means ascend the summit of the tower. Okay? And this could be related to the utilization of the etheric centers, you see. The ascent we need to make through the soul energy focus through the etheric centers. And the utilization maybe of the base, heart, throat, and head centers are implicated in this process here of ascent. Be more strict in keeping of your quiet hour. Build then your tower of ivory, and may the light of your soul pour upon you and flood your life. We have seen this process happening, okay? May you realize the uses of joy. Now, joy will bring her strength to stand in spiritual being, which is the true result, which is the result of true orientation to the soul, really. Okay? It's a soul quality. And it's conditioned by Jupiter, which is a second-ray soul planet. Okay? And of caring nothing about the separated self, caring for personality is a personality care. Okay? Represented here. And here is a very interesting statement he is making. May the blessing of your master rest upon you. Now you see, it depends on our perception how we read in this. Is DK speaking about himself or her own possible master KH? Okay? That I'm leaving for you to ponder upon. And on that note, I come to the conclusion of this presentation. And so thank you for the patience here, particularly for those people who are not very much versed in astrology. Any comments or questions?
Yes.
If not, yeah?
Yes. Please go ahead, Leah.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you so much, Elena. Question, sorry, I have a thought. What triggers you to start looking at midpoints?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
What triggers you to look at particular midpoints?
Particular midpoints? Because I am consciously looking for them.
All the time?
All the time. Because I know exactly what I need to find, and I need to find it, you see? So I know what I look for, and I see immediately the relationships, you see, to the rest.
Right. Thank you.
And then Suzanne writes, it would seem that the 12th house in disciples' charts would be of some importance relating to building the ivory tower. True?
Well, not all of us is actually in a process of building ivory tower. You know, we need to relate it to the level of consciousness and stage of the path. But the 12th house, it's a subjective area of consciousness. It represents a number of things, okay, like each house, but it is related usually to the 8th house and the 4th house, which are together, you know, the deeper inner energies, but the 12th house, I particularly relate to the plane, the soul on its own plane, and all major subjective areas through sacrifice, okay, also it is everything is very individual, you see, but that's why I can answer generally, you know, the question what you're asking. I don't know if that was sufficient for you. If you want to add any further thing to it.
I've unmuted you, Suzanne, if you'd like to elaborate.
Thank you, Elena, and thank both of you for your service and your inspiration and your presentation. I guess I was thinking about the association with isolation at times, and I don't believe that all isolation has to be a negative form. I was just relating it to isolation and to kind of an absorption of a different kind.
Okay, I am not hearing you very clearly, but you mentioned aspiration. You see, everything is relative to the level upon which that energy is manifesting. Aspiration could be aspiration of the personality for selfish purpose, or it could be a spiritual aspiration based on a higher spiritual energy, you see.
Elena, excuse me. Suzanne, did you say aspiration or did you say isolation?
I find that a serendipity because I would agree with the point about aspiration. I actually said isolation, yes.
Okay, isolation is the same sort of issue here as I explained. Isolation could be a separative isolation, okay? Or it could be a spiritual isolation.
I guess referring to the charts of disciples, not necessarily to...
Well, that's why I said for this disciple it was a spiritual isolation on the inner highest level of that tower. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, I don't see any more hands and I don't see any more questions.
Well, you know, it's been full of detailed information here. So it needs a time to digest and look at it carefully. So everything is on the website. You can, look through it again in your own time. I appreciate for your participation and looking forward to see you in the next webinar.
Okay, good night, everybody. We'll see you in December. December 10th will be the next webinar.
Thank you, BL. Thank you, everybody, again. Bye-bye.
And thank you, Elena. Good night.
Night.